Hello, welcome back to the 11 cast. Today we welcome Sugar, that is sugar free, ABC underscore custom underscore framing, also at waves underscore and underscore ripples, and sugar underscore water underscore music, and sugar underscore water score art. I mispronounced that. But we got Justin Mace here, owner of the ABC Custom Framing. Pass it off to my buddy here. How you doing today?
Doing fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. So, what is your name? Justin.
Yeah, my name is Justin Mays. Stage name Sugar Free. Nickname by most is the Hummingbird. And basically, I'm an artist, a performer, make music. The name of my sort of production company and record label is Sugar Water Music, which is obviously a derivative of the Hummingbird. The other idea behind Sugar Water Music is that most cells, in order to survive, need to incorporate sugar, water, and air to survive. So for me and my creative sort of endeavors, what I need to survive is sugar, water, music, or sugar, water, and art. And so Sugar Free actually comes from a persona that I created as I'm sort of going life and dealing with relationships and different hardships. And as the hummingbird needs sugar, water, and nectar to survive, I find myself in moments of despair where I feel like I'm lacking sugar and I'm lacking nectar. And so that character, of course, embodies this idea of being without sugar or without nutrients in an emotional sense.
So there's a lot to dive into there. There's a lot to dive in, which is just that word. Right now, you're walking around underground Denver and your art gallery at ABC Custom Framing. Do you want to show off a couple of the pieces you got there? I know you have art galleries that you host there on a regular basis. Anything in particular you'd like to point out? I know you got some of the bullheads there in the background. You got all around the world in different museums.
Yeah, so I've shown nationally and internationally. A lot of these pieces you see of mine here, these big ones, have traveled overseas, places like Buenos Aires. There are collections in Chicago, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, and of course here in Denver as well. I did get my MFA from UW-Madison, where I studied printmaking and sculpture. When I came back to Denver, I didn't know what to do. I got a job at this frame shop, it's art related, and so a couple years went by. The owner was wanting to sell and move on with her life, and so I ended up taking over the shop from her back in 2014. Upstairs we do custom framing, and then here in the basement is where we have the art gallery, the hideout, where I sort of act as a community sort of host to like different artists and musicians who don't have a platform, and I essentially try to embrace all the sort of different avenues of like the underground community here in Denver, and it's a real beautiful thing. It's really a passion project.
Literally underground. You have a bunch of businesses down there, right? I mean, it's not just sugar, water, music. I mean, you have a recording studio down there. You got a Royal Outerwear clothing company. You got a bunch of different companies that are making things down there.
Yeah, that's correct. Royal Outerwear is the clothing line down there. I have a painter who rents a studio by the name of Scotty Ho. A photographer by the name of No Clue. He goes by No Clue Photography. You guys should look him up. He's fantastic. In addition to that, I also have a little recording studio, like you mentioned, where I would try to work with a handful of local artists to, like I said, the voice and give them the platform to get their message out to the world. And right now we're walking upstairs into the wood shop of the frame shop. Of course, there's still art everywhere, but this is kind of where the magic happens.
Yeah. So I want to pull up a few of your tabs here. I mean, you're a really multifaceted artist as far as everything you do goes between, like you own a framing shop there where you sell original artwork, but you also have, your music site between, if you're on Instagram, waves underscore and underscore ripples. Where did that name come from, the Waves and Ripples name?
So Waves and Ripples, it's it's sort of a play on I guess, emotions of life. You know, we go through ups and downs. Some of those ups and downs are really high. Some of them are really low. Sometimes we're just in a steady sort of constant stream of things. And so it's really just a metaphor for sort of how I approach life, you know, one wave, one ripple at a time. So that's where that comes from.
Yeah, very simply
Yeah.
put, and I see that. Like, take one day at a time. And where did the sugar-free name come from?
So sugar free is from, you know, in relation to the hummingbird being one of my nicknames, needing nectar or sugar water to survive. Like I said, when I developed that character, I was feeling rather depleted without nutrients on an emotional level. You know, I was struggling with depression. I had relationships that I was struggling with both on a family level and on, you know, an intimate level. And so as the hummingbird, I found myself, you know, without those essential nutrients or without sugar. So I found myself sugar free. And then it's also, you know, I try to be very health conscious, care about the environment, what I put into my body, and sort of how I consume things both internally and on an economic level. And so sugar free is also, you know, a way in which I approach sort of my diet. You know, I try to,
Are you a
you know,
vegan? Because I know you're a fan of the. What's
I'm a
the
struggling vegan, to be honest with you. So,
So not a strict
so
vegan. You're like.
I think they call I think they call it freegan. So like I'm a strict vegetarian. You know, it's hard to get away from certain things like butter and cheese, which I do my best to avoid. But at the same time, I do find myself consuming it every once in a while. You know, like I do love pizza. So
So I mean,
it's hard
there's
to find.
no. I can't blame you, man. I'm a big fan of the cheddar myself, both literally and as a reference to the money. I know you got this bird mask here. I don't know if you can shed any light on that, but I'm kind of
So
curious. You know, you mentioned the hummingbird earlier, and in some of your music videos here, like "Shoot for the Sky," you have that mask. So, a little curious as to where that idea, or if that goes back to the hummingbird metaphor.
it's related to the hummingbird, being that it's a bird mask. The mask, the bird in of itself being a creature that has this ability to fly and look at the world from a perspective in which most of us can't, you know, it is something that I truly admire. And so putting the mask on in a way allows me to step outside of myself and my own insecurities, and using my own face. When I first started making music and put myself out there was something I was really self-conscious about. And so the mask allowed me to step outside of myself and then again become a whole different character, and like the bird, see the world and my art and give performances from a whole new perspective and from a whole new vantage point. And sort of as I keep making music and keep developing, the bird mask is a continuing theme that you see. I'm slowly, I guess, becoming more comfortable in my own skin and with my own face and my own persona. So it's not as frequent or as much of a staple as it used to be, but it certainly is sort of the foundation of that character.
Well, it's a great metaphor, a great analogy, and you do so much. It's hard to cover in 11 minutes. But
Right.
for people to know, I mean, you're into music production, you're into making art, you're making music, you're making all sorts of stuff. I see you got shout out to Aragon Designs jewelry on your neck.
Absolutely.
Some custom made pieces there.
Yes,
Um,
they are.
Definitely shout out to Bobby. He makes some great stuff. Um, but we
Absolutely.
got a few minutes left here, and there's so much ground to cover. But just in terms of outside of your artwork, I know you live and breathe your artwork. You're one of the true blue artists in the sense that you're always making something, and I respect that on a deep level more than can be conveyed in 11 minutes. But the theme of the show is that time waits for no one. And I'm just curious, what outside of making your artwork and that brings you happiness? I know maybe Mr. Boggs. Maybe you can
Oh,
elaborate on him. Your
oh my
dog.
God, Mr. Fox, my little Cellini. That man brings me so much joy. It's like my best friend and my little animal companions, like my child. Together, we love being in Colorado. We love getting out in the mountains, being amongst Mother Earth and in nature. Allows me to ground myself and remind me where I come from, which is from the earth, and to really truly try to interact as a person of the earth and be a quality human being. I enjoy cooking food, growing vegetables, and taking care of my plants. you know, I have
Colorado.
I have a beautiful girlfriend whom I love to spend time with, who shares the same sort of passions for Earth and for growth and for nature and for, you know, sort of a deeper connection to our spirituality. And so, you know, I just love having deep conversations and reading books out loud to each other, chapter by chapter. We go back and forth. And so I really love just hanging out with her, Mr. Boggs, and being in the wilderness, reading books.
Well, those are good aspirations. We got less than a minute left here. I'm glad you came onto the 11 cast to share 11 minutes, 11 seconds. People can find you at Sugar Free. I've got you on Spotify and YouTube here. So as I mentioned earlier, if you're on Instagram, you have several accounts. It's waves_and_ripples, sugar_water_music, and sugar_waters. Too many underscores. Sugar_water_art. Anything else you want to shout out? I mean, I know you're on Spotify and all that, but we got about 5 seconds left. Time waits for no one, and it's about to end.
All right. Well, like I said, big shout out to Bobby Aragon, my jeweler. Check him out on Instagram.